What's going on, everybody? Trevor Castleberry here, CEO of Castleberry Consulting and author of For the Hustler and For the Hustler Volume 2, The Investment versus the Investor. I'm here to give you my top 5 reasons why today is the perfect day to begin investing. Reason number 1 is inflation. Inflation is the natural increase in prices in goods every year, and it's typically between 2 to 3% every year. Meaning, as it stands, most commercial banks are only giving you between 0.1 and 1% annual interest on the money that you keep in a savings account. Meaning that every dollar that you keep in a savings account is essentially losing value every year if you're not investing outside of the money that you have in that savings account. I went through something very similar to this in 2017 when me and my wife moved in together. We had about $1,100 saved over that we put in a savings account, which was considered a high yield savings account. But in a year, we went back. So October 2016, we got the money in. About October 2017, we went back to take the money out, and we had only gained $3 interest on the $1,100 that we had in there for a year. And there were so many stocks that I had in my portfolio at the time that I had the $1,100 in there. For the last 6 months, it would have returned more than a $3 profit. So at that point, me and my wife decided we will never solely depend on the savings account again, and we'll always have a majority of our money being invested as opposed to being saved in a commercial savings account. Okay, reason number 2 why today is the perfect day to begin investing is because the stock market is still recovering from the COVID-19 crash from the fall and summer of 2020. Typically, the 2 years after the lowest point in a stock market crash or a stock market dip is when the stock market is very, very profitable. In some cases, over 60 and 50 and 40%. The 10 largest stock market crashes before COVID-19 occurred in 1920, 1930, 1931, 1937, 1946, 1973, 1974, 2001, 2002, and 2008. And out of those 10 crashes, only 3 times did the 2 years preceding the largest dip in the crash not breed a profit. And those were 1931, 1974, and 2001. And I can assure you none of those issues were COVID-19 related. So as it stands, between now and the summer of 2022, you have as good a time as ever to produce a profit on the stock market. Start investing today. Reason number 3 why today is the perfect day to begin investing is because most people put off investing. They procrastinate with it, whether they feel, it's for older people or it's something for them to do and they're not working or what have you. But one thing that will always make people put investing as a priority is when I tell them invest for your children and invest for the youth in your community and your family. That's because in order to give your children and the youth in your community the most guaranteed to succeed, you need to give them the most resources that you can, meaning you need to invest as much as you can and as early as you can. When it comes to investing for your children, I dealt with this personally, in which it made me a better investor in terms of the stock market, real estate, and when it comes to my business. When it comes to stocks, my daughter has had a stock portfolio since before she was born, and I invest in her portfolio more often than I invested in my own after a while. It got to the point in time if I didn't have enough money left over in my budget to invest in both accounts, I always invested in hers as opposed to mine because I was investing in my child. I was investing in the youth. I was investing in the future. And it's a lot easier to get rid of that emotion of what happens if it doesn't do good or, what happens if blah, 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 when you're investing for a child, when you're investing for the youth. Another way, in terms of real estate is me and my wife were thinking of different places we could invest and buy real estate. We started in Ohio. New York was off the table just because of the price point. And we ended up selling recently and buying 10 hectares of land, which is about 24 acres of land in Zambia. And obviously, that was a tough pill to swallow because we weren't even pulling the gun here. So why would we do it in Zambia? And again, it came down to if we're investing not for ourselves, but for our child, our grandchildren, or in generations to come, what's the best investment to be made? And it was a much more affordable investment for a larger plot of land that we couldn't even imagine getting in the United States, which we know will be lucrative for generations to come. And lastly, when it came to starting my own business, Castleberry Consulting, I was going to wait years to do it. And back in 2017, when I ended up starting it, the only reason, the thing that gave me the kick in the butt to do it was when me and my wife found out that she was pregnant. That was the kick in the butt I needed. That said, okay, that business idea you have, it starts today. It doesn't start, next year, next month, next decade. It starts today. So again, get rid of that fear of investing, stop procrastinating, and invest in the youth, invest in your children, and see how your investments succeed. Reason number 4 why today is the perfect day to begin investing is technology. At any given time, 24/7, you have access to buy, to sell, and to create products online. The same thing is for when you want to buy stocks, buy real estate, or find somebody who wants to start a business who you can give an equity investment to, for them to create their business. Every store that you go into to shop, you can buy stock in, well, not every store, but you can go buy shares in many of the stores that you go shopping at. You can buy real estate in many of the cities and many of the countries that you go vacation and travel to. And again, many of the social media sites that you're on watching videos like this, you can find someone who's going to start a business that'd be willing to take an equity investment to either start or expand their business. I know this because I did something very similar, and when it was time to start investing in the stock market, I taught myself using the internet on my phone and on my laptop. When it became time to start buying the stocks, I used my phone and my laptop. When the first time I was going to buy real estate was in Ohio with a few friends. We ultimately didn't end up doing it because a few of them backed out. But the home that I found was on my phone, on Zillow. The real estate agent was Ari Max, found him through my phone. When I contacted the contractor, that was through my phone, through a connection I had in Akron, Ohio. When I went to view the home, I sent somebody out there. They showing me the whole house on Facebook Messenger. And even when it became time to show proof of funds for us to put a deposit on the home, all I did was have to send them a screenshot or a stock statement showing that we had over $5,000 in stocks available, which we had at the time. So I didn't have to liquidate any of them. And I say all that to say, you have everything you need in your pocket as you watch this video to invest in the stock market, to buy real estate, and to buy equity in another business. So there's no reason for you to put it off any longer. Today is the day. And lastly, reason number 5 why investing today is the best day to start. It's the first thing you're supposed to do with money anyway. So if you plan on getting paid today, the first thing you should be doing with that money is investing. Why? Because when you get money, there's only 3 things you can do with it. You can spend it, you can save it, or you can invest it. If you spend it first, you never get it back. It never helps you in the future. If you save it, we already talked about what inflation does. So not only do you not have access to the money that you're saving, but when you do get that money out, it's typically not more valuable than it was when you put it in. So the first thing you should be doing with your money is making sure that it can help you out in the future, which is investing the money. I use the same exact routine when I started Castleberry Consulting and as I live out my life today. I used my W-2 income to invest and start Castleberry Consulting, right? Then I essentially saved my money by all the money that I brought in through Castleberry Consulting. I didn't spend it on myself. I held on to it. The business, Castleberry Consulting, as it expanded, I didn't try to sell it or do different things with it. I held on to it. Until what? Until it started to create a cash flow, which is what an investment ultimately should do. It should keep its value or really, appreciate in value as well as generate cash flow so it can now pay itself off, in operations. My example is with Castleberry Consulting. In my first year of business, I was putting up the money from my W-2 income for every expense Castleberry Consulting had. Now, I put up no money on my W-2 income because all that money essentially comes to me through Castleberry Consulting. So I'm able to pay it, using the cash flow from the very asset that I created from my W-2 income. So when you get your money, the next time you get paid, whether that's today, tomorrow, or if you just got paid earlier this morning, the first thing you should do if unless you did something with it already, the next thing you should do with it is invest, and today is the perfect day to start. Okay, again, this is Trevor Castleberry, CEO of Castleberry Consulting, and the author of For the Hustler and For the Hustler Volume 2, The Investment versus the Investor.